Hey, what's happening? Welcome to Mates TV. What is going on at Chelsea Football Club? I can't say that I'm truly upset by what's happening at Chelsea, but it looks like new boss, just like the old boss. Chelsea falling to what would be considered an embarrassing defeat in the Champions League. First group stage game, a sticky start to the season and a tumultuous beginning to the reign of their new owners, and of course Todd Boehly at the helm of all that stuff as well. And yet Thomas Tuchel has paid the price, not paid with his life, which was probably slightly more likely under the Abramovich era, but he's paid for it with his job. Wow, why? What are they doing? So when I did my predictions for the season, I talked about how the top four was likely to be a closed shop from last season, unless, and that a big unless was around Chelsea, and it would take Chelsea catastrophically sort of caving in to open the door to another football club to sneak in, whether that be Arsenal, Manchester United, whatever. Honestly, I didn't expect it to be this soon. I always felt it could go one of two ways, but it always felt most likely to go in Chelsea's favour by sticking with Tommy the Tuchel. I don't know. You're talking about a really good manager there, and of course one who delivered the European Cup, made them world champions as well. And I'm not going to sit here and denigrate that. I was like a pig in shit talking about Liverpool being world champions. I would denigrate it slightly by the circumstances under which a lot of those games were played. That season never really counted, did it? I think we've all decided to put a big asterisk next to 2020-21 and basically all collectively agree that it didn't happen. I think everyone of every football club can agree that didn't happen, and all the major honours won that season. It should really be stricken from the history books. But regardless, he did it. He lifted the European Cup. The pictures exist. The question is there going to be another person capable of not just righting the ship, but obviously improving and guiding the ship to new, better, stronger, waters where more fish live? It's a fishing boat. Chelsea's a fishing boat in this analogy. I didn't know that when I started it, but here we are. Welcome. Grab your rods. We're going to dive right in. I figured there was always going to be a major upheaval at Chelsea. Obviously, we saw the Abramovich era come to an end and the shit show that surrounded that in terms of not being able to open the club shop and sell key rings and not having enough fans in the stadium and not being able to pay wages, and then the knock-on impact of not being able to renew contracts, and then the mass exodus of defenders from the club, for example, and then them coming in at the end of the season and basically having to start from scratch. You saw Gravskana, I nail that every single time. Leaving, you see Petr Cech leaving, and effectively there's a number of players left in there. Thomas Tuchel's left in there, but everything above that had a real impact on recruitment and the things that connected ownership to the players on the pitch, effectively gone and needing to be replaced. And you talk to these people who had left the club, were on speed dial, they were on call, they were there to help at any given opportunity. What happened, of course, is that Todd Boehly decided to step into the breach. And the answer to the question up top, what are they doing? There's a chance that he might make himself player manager at this point, and nothing would be out of the realms of possibility, given the lunacy of his tenureship so far. But he stepped in to the void and looked fine. Somebody feels they can do the job. I think we from the outside often maybe oversimplify what we think the role of like a director of football is, or someone in charge of recruitment, or even like a CEO or a managing director or whatever does in a football club. And I think he might be one of those people, to be perfectly honest. There's loads of rumours flying around about the mismanagement that's happened, particularly around the transfer market. Now, all of these are unsubstantiated, but I've heard all kinds. And this is not just like Twitter bollocks. This is like grapevine stuff that you start to hear of talks about how transfers have broken down because for him, he felt like he could trade players in an American-style system. A particular centre-half who was very highly regarded, young and highly regarded, and absolutely played for Juventus and was Dutch, and his name was Matthias de Ligt, felt that his deal to Chelsea was coming. It was forthcoming. That a fee had been agreed for him. He was waiting to hear the negotiations on his contract, which were not forthcoming because apparently, allegedly, Todd Boehly believed that when you'd agreed to buy a player, you just basically bought their contract and effectively brought them over. He didn't know that you had to negotiate individual contracts with individual players to make them your player. Yeah. And there are countless examples of that throughout the summer, some more publicised than others, but effectively there's a man who not fit for purpose, incompetent at the role, running around with his hands on the purse string and controlling the incomings and outgoings at Chelsea Football Club. And you've seen some of the mad players who've been linked, and ultimately Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang coming in, good player, good proven goal scorer at the top level, obviously past his best. And look, I don't know. Players can change. Players can be more suited to some football clubs than other football clubs. God knows there's countless examples of that over the years. And hey, listen, Liverpool fans will be hoping that Artem Mello is an example of that at Liverpool. You know, being a failure at a good football club doesn't necessarily mean that you can't go be a success at another football club or big football club. However, when Arsenal are actively looking to just almost give Aubameyang away because it was the root cause of so many major issues at the football club, Chelsea shouldn't. I mean, look, I know the name of going to Barcelona maybe carries a little bit of weight, and maybe that's what helped them get in through the door, but Barcelona weren't exactly fighting to keep him, and Barcelona have been a mess. And I know they've got financial issues to clear up, of course, which will be and how many levers they've had to pull and all that kind of stuff. I wonder if we'll get the levers reference in years to come, or is it very much a thing of its time? Anyway, Arsenal didn't want him because they think he's a bell end. You know, people used to always talk about Liverpool, like, why isn't Jurgen Klopp go and get Aubameyang? And he's never really overtly said it, but reading between the lines has always been he never just didn't vibe with him. You know, he always talks about Robert Lewandowski. He never talks about Aubameyang. You're Chelsea and you're looking to kick on from, a position of strength. Chelsea should be challenging for the title this season. And it's understandable that they're not because of all the upheaval, of course, but they shouldn't be miles from it. Their mission should be, as I said earlier, to cement a top 4 place this season, just survive this season until they get all the right components in place and then keep the manager there and then he can go again. They've chosen not to do that. They've had a mad approach in the transfer market where, the Lukaku thing had obviously become untenable. So maybe you've got to cut ties with that. But ultimately bringing in Aubameyang it's got major, I don't know, not quite Liverpool bringing Balotelli vibes in, but it's got a similar whiff where you need a number 9, you're looking around, who can we get at the last minute, who's available? And infamously, of course, Liverpool looked around and Brendan Rodgers had a choice between Samuel Eto'o, Loic Remy, who effectively failed the medical, who would have been the best of the bad options there, and Balotelli. Which, Sophie's choice of a situation there. But, okay, Aubameyang's probably got a higher stock than that. And again, we know he can score 20-plus goals a season in the Premier League because I guess he's done it, or certainly done it. He was certainly a mainstay of many fancy football teams for a while. It's not a bad signing, but have they really improved what they've got? Theoretically, yes. Raheem Sterling scores more goals than Timo Werner. Aubameyang is more of a direct goal-scoring threat, and he's maybe a little bit more flexible because he can play off the left a little bit as well. And then Koulibaly, people obviously raved about the signing of Kalidou Koulibaly, really, really good centre-half, but I don't know. Chelsea of all should know, and maybe they can't know because they haven't got the people at the club anymore, taking people from Serie A and expecting them to be at the level that they were at in the Premier League. It doesn't work out very well very often in that regard. Taking players, particularly when they're heading towards the twilight of the career, and expecting them to be able to step up is a big ask as well. And look, I don't think anyone really had a criticism with the idea of signing Koulibaly. Not many clubs would have turned the nose up certainly. But having your defence built around an albeit formerly probably best centre half in the world, and Thiago Silva, still more than capable of having good games for the club, and a Koulibaly who, let's be perfectly honest, it was really, really good, but shouldn't be coming to the Premier League at this stage of his career, as warning signs. Then, of course, throwing merry bushels of cash at Brighton for Cucurella, and and at Leicester for Fofana, who looks, that's the model of kind of age range of player you should be signing, of course, but is he capable of stepping up? We don't know. It's a scattergun approach, it's a bit of a mess, and letting Tuchel go ultimately is mad. And the notion, of course, that Graham Potter is the solution. Will Graham Potter have his head turned by that? Possibly. I mean, it'd be hard to be looking around Brighton and what you've constructed there and thinking, okay, I quite like what I've done here, I like the players, I like the system, I'm getting all kinds of plaudits. There's a ceiling to what he's going to be able to achieve at Brighton, but does he want to immediately go into Chelsea in as a season's already started? In what a weird year this is going to be, and is he going to be given the time to get that up and running? Because look, people are raving about Brighton now. People were really pleased with Brighton last season, and of course it looked good the season before. But it's been a building process there. There's a chance that, rumours that Moises Caicedo has got like almost a pre-agreement with Liverpool to join in the January might be a little tipping factor for Potter, of course. And he's going, well, I'm already starting to see, obviously with Cucurella moving, White going the season before, that I'm forever going to be challenged with bringing guys in who are, bargains and bringing them up to the standard, and that becomes a little bit of a law of diminishing returns. So I can understand why it might have his head turned, but it has very FSG, getting rid of Kenny Dalglish, and moreover interviewing Roberto Martinez and Brendan Rodgers for the job and going, right, we want a young coach who's probably a bit more malleable, got some fresh ideas, we can get him for the long term, which is a theoretically sound idea, by the way. But again, to do that obviously not mid-season, but once the season's already begun, when he's not had an active hand in the transfer recruitment, feels weird. There's a names being linked, of course. Pochettino will be linked. He will probably bite their hands off to take that job, because there's just not many jobs of the status that he probably should deserve. But equally, he's a good manager. He is. Has he really, really kicked on since leaving Spurs? Debatable at best. So that, and then like Zidane's being linked as well. Go ahead, why not? He's going to be perennially linked with any club with money forever and ever and ever, until inevitably ends up back at Real Madrid for another chance at winning the Champions League at some point in the next 3 years. So yeah, mad. What are they playing at the Chelsea Football Club? Can they get it back on side again? I've got no idea here. I don't know. In terms of the lesser of evils, I'm happy for Chelsea to be drawn into a battle for fourth, rather than obviously a battle for first and second in the league, as much as obviously that requires Liverpool to get themselves back in order and start challenging for first and second in the league. Of course, I'm well accepting of that. But I kind of, it's always likely to go this way, but it feels a bit mad unless Tuchel's just seen his arse and decided it's just a shit show and I'm gonna drag my own reputation down, and he's just decided to walk before that happens. Then that would make a little bit of sense. But yeah, the whole thing's a bit baffling, really, isn't it? Yeah, what do you think? Let me know in the comments section underneath. I've got another video coming out on Thursday, so make sure you subscribe to the channel. In the meantime, though, we have got a weird, wonderful, amazing podcast. Anyone who used to watch the Machin Pajak podcast, which is me and my good friend Chris Pajak, chatting shit about the world. We sort of canned that when football came back after lockdown and in restart and stuff. But its spirit lives on in the Redmen podcast extra. So it's an exclusive podcast we do on redmenplus.com, which is our subscription service for Redmen. And there's going to be more MHTV content over on there as well in the coming months. I can't even believe I'm doing this. We chatted to Saskia Jade, who is a Babestation star and big Liverpool fan. And we got some, shall we say, X-rated stories from the experience of that. Here's a little clip. Hey, it's podcast extra time. Don't share things that you see on here. It stays between us. Nobody wants to get cancelled. We are joined by Saskia Jade, Babestation star.
I remember when I first started Babestation, had this guy. He put a down his...
No. Oh! No.
Right?
Wait there. Plastic or metal?
It was metal.
Oh my God! I don't want you to say that!
And he...
There you go, ladies and gentlemen. yeah, that podcast is something else. It is not football related in any way, shape or form. So if you like me, if you like Chris, and you like hearing mad stories with a bit of an adult twist, then go to redmenplus.com, sign up and get that podcast video and in podcast form. And Saskia's over on the free Redmen podcast this week as well, which is really good fun. But yeah, honestly, that doesn't even, you want to hear that uncut. Mind blowing. Great fun though. Anyway, yeah, a whole archive of extra podcasts, which again is more me, Chris, and Steve as well from Redmen, just shooting the breeze and chatting loads of extra stuff that isn't necessarily related to the ins and outs, and weekly stuff for Liverpool Football Club. We enjoy it, and we think you will too, particularly if you like the stuff over on Mates TV, and if you liked the MXP podcast in the past as well. Anyway, that's it from me. Thoughts on anything discussed in the comments below? Like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. Hopefully there will be a vlog from the weekend up and coming. There'll be another show again going out on Thursday night. Not yet decided. If there's anything you want me to discuss around Liverpool, let me know in the comments section underneath. That'd be a massive help. Anyway, you stay awesome, because you are. Don't forget it, and I'll see you all soon.